I came back without warning and found my daughter almost dead in the garage. Her husband and mother-in-law had starved her to get her inheritance. While they were celebrating her death, I confronted them and showed them real fear. They paid for it. My name is Aaron Kofi Mensah. I am 57 years old. I was born in Cape Coast and built my life between Accra and Birmingham. I work as a property surveyor and investor. I have spent 30 years measuring buildings and reading people. I am a widower. My wife Alma died 6 years ago and left a quiet house and one daughter who became my whole world. If you are watching this, then listen closely, because what I saw in my own garage taught me that love can be hidden behind smiles and death can be planned like a party. This story will stay with you. I raised my daughter Senna with discipline and tenderness. She was brilliant and stubborn like her mother. I saved for her education and later helped her start a small catering business. When she married Kojo, I approved with caution. He was charming and polite. His mother Madam SC moved in soon after the wedding. She spoke softly and smiled often. I saw respect on the surface and hunger beneath it. I trusted my daughter to see what I could not. I owned a modest house near the outskirts of the city and a warehouse that held my tools. I placed the house in my daughter's name years earlier for security. I kept the warehouse in my name. That detail mattered later. After my wife died, I traveled often to keep my mind busy. I visited sites and slept in hotels. Senna called less and said she was tired. I believed her. One afternoon I returned without warning. My flight landed early and rain chased me home. The gate was open. The house was quiet. Music came from the backyard. I walked past laughing voices and smelled roasted meat. They were celebrating something. I felt a chill, but I followed the sound of laughter instead of going inside. As I crossed the yard, I noticed the garage door was slightly open. The light inside was off. I pushed the door and the smell hit me. Old sweat and fear. I stepped in and my heart broke into pieces. My daughter lay on a thin mat. Her eyes were half open. Her lips were cracked. Her body was weak and shaking. I knelt and called her name. She could not speak. She squeezed my finger with the last strength she had. I lifted her and felt bones where warmth used to be. She had been starved. Water was rationed. Her phone lay broken near her hand. I understood everything in one breath. The party outside was for her death. They were waiting for the night to claim the house and the insurance that Kojo took without telling me. Fear became fire in my chest. I carried her quietly to my car and drove to a private clinic I trusted. I did not call the police yet. I wanted truth to gather like a net. The doctor stabilized her and confirmed deliberate starvation. I asked for silence. I paid and signed. I told them she was my niece to avoid alerts. Senna slept and breathed. That was enough to plan. I returned to the house before sunset. The party was louder. Kojo and Madam SC drank and laughed. Friends congratulated them for freedom and money. I walked into the yard calmly. Silence spread when they saw me. Kojo froze. Madam SC smiled and stepped forward. I raised my hand and spoke slowly. I said the dead do not breathe and my daughter breathes tonight. I said the house is not yours and never was. I said the warehouse holds cameras and contracts and I see more than you think. Fear entered their eyes like a cold wind. I told them to keep celebrating because tomorrow would be busy. That night I did not sleep. I gathered evidence. I retrieved camera footage from the warehouse that showed Madam SC buying large insurance policies using forged consent. I recovered messages from Senna's old phone backed up to my cloud. They spoke of hunger as discipline and silence as obedience. I met my lawyer at dawn. By morning I filed a protection order and a fraud complaint. The police came quietly. Kojo tried to run. Madam SC screamed and cursed. The neighbors watched. I did not raise my voice. I only watched fear do the work for me. The insurance was frozen. The house title was secured back to my trust. The friends who cheered stepped away. Senna woke later that day. She cried without tears. I held her and promised safety. Recovery took weeks. Truth took longer. She told me how food was locked and insults were daily. She told me how they planned a slow end to make it look like illness. I listened and stayed steady. Love means holding pain without breaking. The trial came fast because evidence was clean. Kojo confessed to pressure. Madame SC denied everything and blamed culture. The judge spoke plainly. Starvation is violence. Planning death is murder. They were sentenced within the law. Not enough for the pain but enough for justice. The ending was not loud. It was heavy. Senna moved with me. She learned to eat again and trust again. I sold the house and donated part to a shelter for women who suffer in silence. I kept the warehouse and installed brighter lights. If you are listening, then remember this. Evil hides in routine and smiles. Return early sometimes. Ask hard questions. Love fiercely and plan wisely. Fear is real when truth stands tall. They paid for it and my daughter lived. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And tell me, what would you have done if you were in my place?